Hello again, everyone. This is Randy, your sewing machine man. We're looking at a MyXL 23L by New Home, which is also Janome. And this is a great little machine. And you folks that are out there looking for machines online and maybe at a garage sale or an estate sale, here's one you might want to very strongly consider because it's a real good machine. You're going to get one of these when Grandma goes to assisted living and the kids are needing the real estate and they're going to park everything at the curb or take it to the Goodwill. They'll take one of these thinking it has no value. Trust me, it has a high value. It's not a commodity. It's not like gold, but it is worth gold if you have it and it's working well. When you get one of these, it may have little things wrong with it. This had little this, little that, probably every little thing you can imagine. But when I get a machine like this, I go through everything you can imagine and check for all the possibilities. And this one was a good good lesson, good case in point, because it's been used, but it hasn't been abused. It's been used carefully, and I don't know if it's been serviced often or not, because a lot of times you can't tell. I can service a machine, and then a month later, it looks like it's never been serviced because people sew quilts, and they sew so much. It's packed with lint and what have you, but they have me service it, and away they go. So it's a nice little machine, and I'll give you a real quick rundown here, and hopefully I will cover the things that everybody will ask me in the comments, and I'll go, wow, why didn't I mention that? So a lot to cover, so let's get started here. It's a real good machine. It's a full rotary, has a metal hook, 15 class drop-in plastic bobbin. And the reason it has a plastic bobbin is because it has a magnet underneath the bobbin case. We've covered that in other videos about why you have to have the magnet under the bobbin case. It keeps the bobbin case from jumping up. It does away with a lot of the thread gap issues and things like that. So if I'm going to work on one of these, first thing I do is I take it apart down here, and I've already done all this. So we're going to be going over, everything's already been done. I'm going to show you what I did. This is just leaning up against this here for effect. When they throw the thumbnail up there, they do that. So the needle plate, I just have it setting in place like so. Let's get over here and get down to the nitty-gritty, brass tacks, whatever you want to call it. And I say I go through these A to Z, stem to stern, back and forth, coast to coast, treetop to treetop, sea to shining sea. And I always leave out something, and people go, well, you forgot this. Well, sorry. That happens. All right. You want to swing open the side over here to take this screw out. The one screw comes out. The bobbin case. Of course, the bobbin comes right out. It's plastic. Get the focus back. There we go. And the bobbin case lifts out. Of course, it was packed in here with all the stuff, which is going to be because this lint finds its hiding places, and you go in there with your tweezers, object lesson tweezers. You get in there, you tweeze, you tweeze, you tweeze, you tweeze. And it's a good idea to get your air. I encourage people to use the compressed air in the can. Make sure you don't tilt the can. We've covered that in another video. You blow it out as best you can. Don't tilt the can. You'll get propellant. It'll melt plastic. But you give it a puff, and you'll see the little wisp and tufts and batches of lint and what have you. It'll kind of flip around and wave at you back to you. Grab your tweezers, you pull it out. This one, of course, I use an air compressor, which, it's the big dog, real professional type of doing it. But everybody has a way of moving the air, and you got to have air to get the hiding places. Now, as far as getting down in here, you always want to check and make sure there's not. See where the needle comes down? It'll usually make contact with the back of the hook right there. You always have to check. A better machine like this one has a little place cut out so it doesn't hit it. A lot of times you'll find a little groove there, a little nick where the needle has hit it, and you got to polish that out. I have a video on that. I took the needle plate out. The first thing I saw was the back of the needle plate. Oh my goodness, it was dinged up big time back here. And that usually is because the customer's pulling the fabric because it's not feeding properly. If it's not feeding, you help it. And then when you help it, the needle's in the fabric. When the fabric's moving, you don't want to have that happen. So it cut a pretty good groove back here. And you can see I reconditioned it, polished it. You can do that a few times. But the weak point on here is going to be right there, right there, and right there. When that cracks, you got to get a new one because it'll dip down. Of course, when I see that, it's a forensic thing. You got to say, okay, what's going on? If she's having to pull it, that means the feed dogs weren't high enough. The feed dogs were not. They were just barely even with the surface. Of course, I'll show you in a second when we flip it over how to set the feed dog height. I got another video on that, but while we're here, let's do it. This machine's easy to work on, has a real easy adjustment for the feed dog height, like a lot of them do when it's sitting off to the side. So we got the feed dog set. Now, if you want to take the top off of this thing, I'm going to take off the top first so I can show you how it's done before we go to the bottom. Taking the top off, over here on the side, you have a bracket that holds your handle on right here, and it holds the top on. You take this top screw out, the bottom one you'll loosen, you don't need to take it out. You'll take the top screw completely out, and then you'll swing that bracket to the back so it's out of the way and doesn't hit anything. Swing it back there. And then up here at the top, you'll have two screws that hold the top on. And I get these all the time where people have attempted this and they didn't get the right screws. You have to get the right screws, because if you take off the wrong ones, there'll be a mishap. We don't want any mishaps. The two screws are going to be here. Let me tilt this one, that problem here. Got a screw here and a screw over here, just to the left of the bobbin winder. Don't loosen this one back there. That adjusts your guide for your bobbin winder. Stop. If you take this loose, there's a nut there will fall down inside, and I'll find it when I go looking for it. But two screws, one there and one over here. You take those two screws out. You take the screw over on the side here I told you to take out, and the whole thing just lifts right off. Easiest thing in the world. That's why I like these machines. If you live 400 miles from the nearest city, you don't have to worry about taking it in somewhere. I talk to customers on a daily basis who don't live downtown anywhere. They live out in the bush, and they do everything themselves. And here's a good machine for you, because you can take care of it yourself. Now, you get the top off. Anything that moves, I say if it hinges, pivots, rotates, or slides, you give it a drop. Each end, there's going to be thread wrapped around up in here. You get your tweezers, you gently pull. As you turn your hand wheel away from you, it wrapped with the machine going towards you. So you unwrap it with the hand wheel going away from you. Don't pull hard. You'll pull it down inside. You'll never get it out. Just a slight bit of resistance. Turn it away from you, and it'll unravel and come right out just like you had good sense, and you do. So that takes care of oiling. Down underneath, I'll show you about the feed dog height setting. It's off to the left-hand side here, the feed dog. Boy, and it's rare that these don't have an issue with the feed dog height, because thread and lint and what have you get built up underneath the needle plate and in the feeders. And what happens is it pushes the feeders down. Let's get real closer if we can. Here's where you set the feed dog height. There's a lock nut back up here, a lock nut underneath. The lock nut holds everything in place. You loosen that lock nut and you turn this screw clockwise to the right, and it'll raise the feeders up. If you turn it to the left, it'll take them down. Now, to get that little lock screw off of that, lock nut rather, I have a long snout, I guess you call it long snout crescent wrench. Looks like this. So we can reach up in there and get that. You can try it with a needle nose. It's frustrating. You can get a wrench that exact size and it works. I have it, but it's easier to just use this needle nose, or this long needle nose, what do they call it? Crescent wrench, yeah. So I just loosen that, and you raise the feeders up. They raise up, and you always check it by putting the needle plate back on. I'll show you real quick how that works. You set it in place like so. And you see that when the needle's at its highest point, your feeders come up to their highest point, and you can see that all of the teeth are visible. It's going to be a little high in the back, low in the front. That's normal. But you see you have plenty of feed dog there, plenty of feed dog to feed the fabric. Before I set them up, they were flush, even, and wouldn't feed. And that's why the groove got caught in the back. Now underneath, you're always going to have this situation. On the reverse, the reverse is just like I've showed you in the 385 Kenmore series, right here. See how this moves back and forth? That changes your cam to go forward and back, forward, back. While we're under here, I always go to the motor. if you see a motor and you think, well, what in the world is going on at the end there? Is that felt? Is that some kind of reservoir for the oil to be? I think that is. You'll see right in there. See that? Let's get my professional emphasis pointer right there. You see in there? That's felt. You get an extended spout oiler. An extended spout oiler, kind of a tongue twister, looks like this. And there's a place called the internet. You can buy these. It's a brass tube extended spout oiler. Comes with a little brass cap that goes on the top. And that's where you can apply oil a drop at a time, as opposed to pouring it all over the place. A drop. On the other end, there's a drop and a drop. We'll get that in a second. Anything that pivots, hinges, rotates, and slides gets a drop of oil. Don't over oil. You don't want to do that. Now, over here on the right-hand side, there's a panel that comes off. And the panel that comes off, it has 1, 2, 3 screws holding it on. First thing you got to do is take off this, because this is going to be on there, and it just slides right off. I say that because my hand strength will let me slide it off. You may have to pry it a little bit with a screwdriver. Don't break anything or torque anything. It slides right off. You lift, there's 2 screws on the bottom on both sides down here that this fastens onto. And I'll show them to you because you're like, where were they? Here they are, right here. Screw there, screw there. You don't have to remove them, just loosen them because these tabs slide underneath. Then there's going to be another screw right in the dead center of this one. All right, and it lifts from the bottom. You can't take it off from the top because there's tabs up there. So you lift from the bottom, you pull this off, and then you oil your other end of the motor where those daggone oiling wicks are. Oiling wicks on this side, just like the other side, right there. You'll see them there real easily. Drop. And you always want to oil this idler. This is a plastic idler knob right here. Put a drop with your extended spout drop oiler, boom, like that. If you get too much oil on it, it'll get on the belt. You want to make sure the belt's clean. There's no lint. You know, blow it out. Anything in the apparatus that moves, put a drop. Don't get it on your motor. Don't get it on your belt. Don't get it on your bob winder ring. There are places that run by friction, and there's places that run on oil. You have to know which one is which before you put the oil on there. Willy-nilly. Can't do it. All right. Well, let's go on through. Let me tell you about this up on top before I forget, because when someone's sewing heavy stuff like denim and stuff like that, this knob gets turned. It's always on 3 when I get the customer's machine. It's always on 3. And I put it back on 2. That's the reason I always stitch out a machine. And I always do this maneuver right there. That's a back stitch. Forward, back. And when I back stitch, if I can't turn the fabric and run it the way I like to, I know there's too much pressure. I'll go up there and it's on 3. The downward pressure is pushing down on this right here, and it'll also bend this. It has to be bent back up. So you make sure you don't have any breaks there, no breaks there. Make sure it's not dipped down. If it's dipped down, you'll have skip stitches and it won't feed. So make sure that's straight, make sure that's reconditioned, make sure your feeders are up. And I won't get into the thread gap because we got that in other videos, setting the thread gap such as that. But this will be back together, get it back to the customer. She'll be happy. She has a great machine, and it'll outlast all of us. It's called the MyXL 23L, new home. And the same version, I think, Hancock Fabric sold it. It was a Janome, and it was HF 23L or whatever, HF for Hancock Fabrics. And of course, we had a problem with these things when they first came out. There was an issue with the doggone, when you go to the buttonhole, you have to click it in and then reset. It has that reset deal. And they make the first button and it'd be still locked in the buttonhole mode, and people would be like, what the heck? And they'd bring them in, I'd have to tell them. So they started adding this. After a buttonhole is sewn, move the indicator to pattern, then reset it to buttonhole. So you click it over and click it back. And if you don't know that, your head will explode. You're like, why does my machine not work? That's real important to know that. So I'm glad I remember to throw that in. Okay? A to Z, stem to stern, back and forth. Nice little machine. If you get a chance to grab one of these, make sure they pack it properly. Get the accessories, get the book if you can. It's a nice little machine. I'd highly recommend it. XL23L, new home. Thanks.